Hi everybody, Colin Stevenson here, joined today with, again, my hero, John Lenhart. Hi John.
Hi.
Now, we have been going through our intangible drivers, or John's intangible drivers from his model for the mind brain. And I will add, it's the only model for the mind brain in the whole world, which for me is a Nobel Prize winner straight away. Now, today we're going to be talking about TeacherHOW, and you will be able to find out from the rest of our videos where the teacher comes in, and we're going to find out how the teacher matches with the other intangible drivers. So John, would you like to tell us some more, please?
I am TeacherHOW. So I'm an administrative teacher. We'll talk about that later, but I am TeacherHOW. So the how is what you see. The why is the effect you want to have on other people. The how is what you see. So you see me teaching and explaining, or I like to say commentating. So if someone says something, this is why Colin and I get along. Colin says something and then I go, let me explain. Let me commentate about this. Let me do this. And TeacherHOWs end up looking like a know-it-all or a bragger, because after everyone talks, the TeacherHOW has to talk. They have to jump in. They have to say stuff. They have to do stuff. So that's what the TeacherHOWs look like. They're the know-it-alls. They're the braggers. So if you think about it, the key to how is these are the people who, if you need an intentional solution to a problem, if you have a problem and you want it fixed, you go to a TeacherHOW. If you don't have a problem, you avoid TeacherHOWs because they're going to bore you to death. So you either need them because you have a problem, or you avoid them because they just bore you and wear you out.
Love that, because, well, you met me and I wasn't a place where I was lost. I had direction and I was going somewhere, but when I say somewhere, I didn't have a destination. Now, when I met you and people can watch it through our previous videos, you and I clicked because you asked me the question and I gave my definition for the question, and then our relationship blossomed. A year later, we're now doing podcasts together. Now, I had to have a teacher in my life. You know, you can't teach me the experience that I had because I learned that, but what you can do is teach me how to use that for other people. You can teach me how to word my experience better. So when we're talking about TeacherHOWs, and a lot of teachers are not TeacherHOWs, which is why teachers struggle sometimes. A natural teacher is a person that's got a natural TeacherHOW, for me anyway, a natural TeacherHOW in their uniqueness. And this is the ones we can learn from the most. Well, my belief.
So most educators are actually you, Colin. Most educators are compassion servers.
Yeah.
Especially in what we call the middle school and elementary school here. So basically from 14 years and younger, the teachers tend to be compassion server. In the high schools and the later times, now you're not going to get a lot of server house. In college, most of those professors are TeacherHOW. Yeah. Most of them are TeacherHOW. That's why they get up and they just drone on and explain. So yeah. So if we're going to go through these TeacherHOWs, perceiver teacher. So someone who explains in order to make you aware. Now, from Harry Potter, Hermione Granger is perceiver teacher. Yeah. From comedy, because we said perceivers are comedians, Chris Rock is perceiver teacher. When he tells a joke, he doesn't just throw a one-liner. He's got to set it up. He's got to explain to you everything, this background. He needs you to understand a bunch of things so you appreciate this funny line. And that's what that, a comedian who teaches a lot before they deliver the line, you learn something. You go to Chris Rock's show, you walk out going, I learned something. So that's him sort of external processor. Hermione's that internal. I'm married to a perceiver teacher. And so I always joke, like, it's like being married to Hermione Granger. She just teaches you a lot because she wants you to be aware of this one thing.
I love that. Now, when you're talking about you as a teacher, okay, you're big picture like me, so you look at the wider picture of things as well. So it's like you can teach without having to micromanage the thought processes through it. And what I believe is that for some people, this is better. For some people, they like to focus on the small picture, you know. But for me, because I'm big picture, you can teach me in a wide, and I can start to pick up on all the small things naturally, which I find very, very good with when it comes to us. Hermione Granger does come across as a know-it-all. And when she does do so, she does actually know it all. And this this is where that I enjoy watching her. And this is why I enjoy talking with you so much, because I understand your uniqueness. And when I meet other teacher hows, I let them go on. A lot of people go, I can't listen to this person anymore. I'm sick of them talking because they just keep teaching, teaching, teaching. A lot of people aren't open to being taught. And with you and I thrive on it because I know what I'm being taught from the teacher how is coming to me, and it's for a reason.
Right. So when a teacher how, you just made a great point. The way to dissolve that is to ask them to teach you something.
Yeah.
Is when they teach you something, you say, I understand, they're going to calm down. This is how they connect through that. The other thing is that we talked about this before, you only learn 25% of information directly. That's why you have to repeat things 3 times to really get it. You learn 75% by teaching it. So the reason why teacher hows know so much and are so smart is not that they spend their time learning, is they spend their time teaching. Teacher hows learn just enough of something so they can turn around and teach it to other people. And that's where they actually learn. That's where we all learn. All of us would benefit and become smarter if we impersonated teacher hows. If we learned enough about something to turn around and teach it, you actually learn more of that stage. Teacher is Spock. They're just going to teach for the fact. You know, I have a friend who's teacher, and we joke about him commentating on his commentary. So he will tell you something, and then he'll go, you know, here's why I know that. And then he'll go, and then he'll try to commentate on it. And we go like this, like in parentheses, this is the commentary on the original commentary. So you say something and he commentates, and then he commentates on the fact that he commentates. So that's for these teachers, they can just keep going and going. Compassion teacher, you know, is, if you remember Star Wars, C-3PO.
Yeah.
So he knew everything and he just talk. But compassion, it's like all of a sudden he would feel what people are feeling and he would do that. And what's funny today is I'm finding there is a job in these corporations and that compassion teachers migrate to. And it's basically the IT specialist. So what happens is we all are using computers.
Yep.
We all get frustrated and have pain because of computers.
Yes.
And so these compassion people want to step in and bear that pain. But compassion teacher is, these teacher hows are going to learn computer stuff because it's very logical. These compassion teachers, I'm seeing more than half of the compassion teachers, or I should say this, more than half of the IT specialists, the people that help people truly enjoy it and that the companies like. You know, Hermione Granger being an IT specialist is going to make you mad.
Yeah.
But somebody who's compassion teacher being an IT specialist, you're going to feel like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for helping. They're so wonderful. And they're going to get energy because they're bearing your pain in a way that they can fix it.
That's amazing. And just while we're talking, I had a friend in the army who went into, he's a teacher without doubt, and he always has been. And I believe him to be a compassion teacher as well. And he has actually went into to be an IT specialist in all these large banks. So it fits absolutely perfectly for him.
Yeah. And I'm seeing even in the school districts, these teachers become their compassion teacher, and they want to leave that job to be the IT specialist for the school. Because they end up doing that job anyways. They walk around and help everybody anyways. Giver teacher is really a great corporate trainer. I've seen giver teachers in corporations and really great corporations being the trainer, because what they're doing, giver tries to make everything better. And teacher, they can tell you how. So when you have these people in the corporation that are trying to get to a new level or trying to take the people up, they tend to be giver teacher. they're explaining things and helping people up. We've already covered server teacher.
Yep.
When we cover the server out, these are the ultimate problem solvers. When I see these high tech, we said a lot of these football coaches, but when I see these, people who are computer programming and doing all that, they tend to be server teacher, and they see the problem. Server wise sees the whole problem, and teacher, they can explain it to you. Very complicated. These server teachers are kind of the geniuses, the ultimate problem solvers.
Now, what I think that's us now through 4. So I am compassion server, right? So if we just go back to the compassion server, I can move my server to teacher as long as I know. Now, I could probably do the computer industry thing, but it's not my personal preference. I like to be able to move, and I like to be able to adapt and interact with people differently. So I can teach to a degree as long as I know what it is that I'm saying, and it's good. But 50% of people are servers, and if they're only using certain parts of their server, Uniqueness how, that means that they might not be teaching, and so they're not getting to voice their opinion. So that can actually raise their energy.
Right. So something you said to me, I believe it's like 6 or 9 months ago, is you said, John, I've known all this information for years, but I feel like in the last, year or two, I suddenly know it. And my point to you was, you've been teaching it. You learned it for all these years, but didn't feel like you knew it. And now in the last couple of years that you've been teaching it, you all of a sudden go, oh, I really do know this.
Yeah, and that's kind of helped me with my book. It's helped me with clients. It's helped me understand you. It's everything, and I'm like, and I'm gaining energy daily. And even when we all got things that happen in life, when we have a blip or we have a bump in the road, but being able to go back to that and understand, and this is why I believe what we are talking about is so important to the humankind. It's the human body, human brain, and I believe it's so important. And because I'm teaching certain parts of what you teach me, that allows me to understand what we do better and what we're doing just now. It's amazing.
Right. So the next one's administrative teacher. That's who I am. So these people in the movies, they tend to be the ones who are moving people around, and they give all the exposition. So Morpheus, Willy Wonka, I like to talk about Willy Wonka. Snape, in Harry Potter, Snape was administrator teacher. And then James Bond, every James Bond villain is administrator teacher. And this kind of illustrates really the mentality of the administrator teacher, because for years people are frustrated by the Bond villain. Yeah. Why doesn't he just kill Bond? Why doesn't he do that? Why didn't he sit there and explain? He's got to explain the whole plan. It's like the administrator teacher doesn't want to do the plan.
Absolutely not.
They want to teach the plan. The reason the Bond villain captured Bond was to force him to hear their plan, because nobody wants to hear their plan. And even in the classic old Bond, they had an answer. The administrative teacher went, here's how to fix the world. And I think of Dr. No. It's one of my favorite movies. Yep. Is he's basically had the answer, and he talked to people, and no one would listen to him because it was the truth.
Yeah.
And so he went, basically, I have to now do this plan to prove I was right. I don't even want to do this plan. I never wanted to do this plan. But I have to do it because I have to prove I'm right, and nobody wants to hear my plan. So I'm going to capture James Bond, tie him up, and sit here and explain my plan to him, because that's all I really want to do. I don't want to do the plan. That's like, people just don't understand. But when people make fun of the James Bond villain, I just go, you think people are robots? That guy's administrative teacher. This is why. This is his why. And this is how he wants to do it.
Remember, I think it was last week, where I spoke about people in the army and how they don't understand the title administrator teacher, but certain people get to a certain level. Now, if you think back, I don't know if you've seen them, the Austin Powers movies with Dr. Evil, right? Now, Dr. Evil is the exact administrator teacher because he captures Austin Powers to tell him he's going to take over the world with his lasers. Do you know? And he does the exact same as a Bond villain, and that's them with a spoof.
Okay, so I'm going to take this up another level. This is my commentary, right? Mike Myers based Dr. Evil off of Lorne Michaels. So Lorne Michaels, that's who he's impersonating when he talks.
Yeah.
Lorne Michaels is administrator teacher.
See?
In real life. So it was real easy to see Lorne Michaels as a Bond villain because that's who he is. And if you watch Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, Jerry Seinfeld actually interviewed 2 administrator teachers in a row because Judd Apatow is also administrator teacher. And when you watch those, they're not comedians.
Yeah.
Neither of those guys are comedians. Neither of those guys are funny, but they can tell funny stories.
Yeah.
That's what administrator teachers do. You know, Abraham Lincoln was administrator teacher. And if you watch the movie Lincoln, every time someone says something, he commentates with a story. And everybody, you know, people joke about, oh no, Lincoln's gonna tell another story. Here we go again. That's administrator teacher. So Lorne Michaels and Judd Apatow, if you watch those 2 episodes, the 2 things you're gonna notice is, number one, neither of these guys are funny, but they both have funny stories. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's Lorne Michaels is administrative teacher. And that's then the last one, we've talked about this, exhorter teacher. You know, we talked about, you know, these life coaches. We talked about Vince Vaughn. We talked about Anne Hathaway in the movie The Intern. Basically, they are entertainers. Exhorters are entertainers. So exhorter teachers are these people who, how can I entertain you while teaching you? I'll be a life coach.
And this is how they gain energy while you're feeling them. And when you don't feel them, they come down, and that's where they crash. And this is where we discussed before. So when we talk about the exhorter teacher, I mean, they're a special kind of person. And I believe that we do need one in every establishment to kind of raise that energy levels, you know, and they're able to, like, I can raise energy by being compassionate. So people come to me for compassion. You are needed because you need to administrate people, but we also would need an exhorter in there to, you know, kind of raise those blood levels, like Mr. Motivator. I would say, would he not be exhorter teacher? You know, he was like the on television kind of personal trainer guy. So he was all up and and let's go there. And he's teaching them to do it. So again, this is another type what I believe to be a decent exhorter teacher. So they're teaching the muscle groups how that's going to benefit them, but they're doing it in an excitable way.
Right, and the exhorter takes us forward, infinitely forward. So yeah, we need that exhorter. When everything's right, then that last step is, let's go forward.
No, that's magic. No, honestly, I love the TeacherHOW. For me, is a special one, similar to the server. Okay, I find them both very, very. They can change obviously depending on the why, but they're very special people, as we all are in their unique way, shall we say. But I do like people to understand that teachers are there for their benefit, you know. And if people give the teachers a break, they might actually learn something.
Right.
So listen, thank you so much, John. Thank you again, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.